Why is it so hard to find hospitality in restaurants? Restaurants were literally designed to give hospitality. That's a huge, huge allure of it. And yet it's harder and harder to find hospitality, whether it's at a pancake house or even at a fine dining restaurant. Sometimes you get let down at fine dining restaurants or expensive restaurants, and it's so frustrating. We want to figure out why. So the reason why hospitality is dying isn't because hospitality itself is dying, right? It's dying because our training is off. We're training the same way we were training 5 years ago, which makes absolutely no sense. And even 5 years ago, before COVID, we were using training from 10, 20, 30 years ago. And then we wonder why it's so difficult. Using old training, right? Follow that person, you follow this person, you read some docs, you're gonna be on your own, we're gonna watch you, we're gonna take you some tests, right? That old style of training doesn't work anymore, and you can feel it. It just makes everything exponentially harder in restaurants. Now, I want to go over what a successful restaurant operation looks like. We have a lot of data. We've helped scale over 300 restaurants worldwide. We've analyzed over 1,000 restaurants, and we'll show you exactly what the top performers use in order to make their operations successful across the board. So we call it the 5 phases, and that's what I want to show you today. 5 phases to simply elevate your restaurant's operations and ultimately get that amazing hospitality experience throughout the entire restaurant. Now, first things first is that 5 phases are super simplistic, not easy, but simplistic, but you have to follow them in order. So the first top of the phase, the top of the funnel, is advanced leadership. Now, this is where a lot of restaurants get it wrong. They think that they need training, right? My servers aren't bought in, my servers are transactional, they don't listen, I find myself micromanaging them. It's so frustrating, I need better employees, or I need better training, or I need more docs. None of that's true. First things first, what you need is advanced leadership. Your managers have to be leaders, which means they have to be able to lead the charge. They have to be able to lead the staff, motivate the staff, and also, which we'll get into later, hold the staff accountable. And accountability isn't a negative thing, it's actually a productive thing, and it's a positive thing because it just is a sign of excellence, but we'll get into that later. So, advanced leadership. What we've heavily focused on is the 4 cornerstones of leadership. First, your leadership team has to be inspirational. They have to be inspiring. That means they have to work. They have to work side by side with the staff. They can't hide in the office. They have to know what they're talking about. They have to know how to work the actual function of the job. If you're a bar manager, but you don't know how to bartend, it can be really hard to be inspirational. So they have to be inspirational. Second of all, they have to have guest recovery. That means that any manager in your building, you know 100% sure if there's an issue with the guest, meaning the guests were lucky enough, the guest raises their hand and says, I have an issue, because 80% of the time they won't statistically. Instead, what they'll do is sign their check, never come back, and possibly write a bad review and badmouth your restaurant. So if we're lucky enough for someone to raise their hand, we know any leader in our building is gonna be able to go recover that guest, but not only recover them, but flip them into a loyal guest because they handle it so well. Now, it's not about apologies, and it's not about money. We're not giving the house away for free. We're not apologizing a bunch of time. We're just truly showing the guests that we care. Sometimes it does mean comping things or buying things, but most importantly is that we show and convey the fact that we 100% care and we're willing to do what it takes to make it up to them. So guest recovery is absolutely crucial in the 4 cornerstones of leadership. The next is accountability mastery. If your leadership team can't hold people accountable confidently and consistently across the board, you are never going to have the success that you're looking for. You're never going to have a culture of excellence, and you're never going to have consistent elevated hospitality. Because again, this is so difficult to instill, but you have to have these things in spades, including accountability, because it takes that type of tenacity to be able to fully implement hospitality at a high level. Absolutely doable and actually simple, but the consistency part and implementation part is absolutely crucial. So accountability mastery is absolutely everything. And the last part, but not the least, is emotional intelligence. Your leadership team has to be trained on emotional intelligence. That's what takes it from manager to leader, right? I'm gonna move up my best server because he's a great server, and we need a new manager, we need a new supervisor. And I would love to move him up because he gets it. He works hard, he's so good with the guests. Maybe he can teach the people underneath him how to be good with guests too. So I'm gonna move him up. But what happens a lot in that situation is restaurants don't do anything to develop them into leaders. They just move them up. Here are the keys, here's the cash, here's how you comp things, here's how you change time cards, here's how you put stuff in the spreadsheets. We won't actually train them on how to deal with people. And if you look at the statistics, 85% of managers say the hardest part of their job is dealing with people, dealing with employees, dealing with guests. And so we have to show them how to do it at a high level. We have to show them how to be successful at it. We have to show them how they can hold people accountable and have those tough conversations using emotional intelligence. And it's not easy, but it is simple, and you can make it systematic, but we have to focus on it. All it is showing you how to identify your emotions and how not to react on them. And also how to identify other people's emotions and not to react on those, right? It's understanding people, understanding yourself, and being able to hold conversations fluidly with that information. After you have advanced leadership, which is by far the most important piece. For example, you can have terrible training or even no training, have great leadership, and still be somewhat successful. If you have amazing training, best trainers in the world, Tony Robbins comes in and trains your staff, but then you have bad leadership, it will be a failure. A complete and utter failure. Everything will be all for nothing, and you might as well just have your staff run it, and you and the owner and the managers just leave and go off and do your thing. Just have them run it the way they want to, because that's what happens when you don't have advanced leadership. And next is high-level systems. Now, before I jump into high-level systems, which is so crucial, I want to let you know that you just heard about advanced leadership, right? We're going into high-level systems. You might be going already like, whoa, Preston, this is a lot, but it's not, right? It's just knowing the systems, understanding the systems, understanding it, and then how to implement them. That's all it is. And I'm actually hosting a live workshop digitally where I'll go over all of this, how to create, how to implement, how to manage, all that good stuff. It's only an hour, but it can change your restaurant forever. The best part about it is it's absolutely free, and I'm hosting a live Q&A afterwards because I want to make sure that you leave with 100% clarity. Now, there's only 100 seats available because of the live Q&A. I can't answer over 100 people's questions on one workshop, but if you're interested, snag a seat before they all get taken. High-level systems are absolutely crucial, so freaking important, okay? Because what systems do is they give structure. They give structure to the leadership team, and they give structure to the staff. It's absolutely crucial, right? It's you just telling them exactly what you want and how you want it. The best way to put it is I tell people, you have employees, right? And you need to show them where the target is, and then you have to give them the tool to hit the target, right? If you don't do that, then it's a guessing game. You're A, they don't know where the target is, and B, they don't have the tools to hit it. So you're asking them to find the target, then you're asking them to create the tool to hit the target, which will take exponentially longer, have a lot more failure, and a lot more lost revenue if we do it that way. High-level systems, now what makes them high-level? Well, they're 3 phases, super simple. First, create the system, right? That's the easy part. I want you guys to start doing X, Y, and Z at this time of the day, or this part of the meal, or this part of the experience, right? Or when you walk in the morning, you're gonna do X, Y, and Z every time before your shift. Then you go into implementation. This is where most restaurants fail, right? They don't implement it properly. We have to make sure every employee knows the system and why. Every employee has access somewhere to the system in case they have questions. And every employee knows what happens if they don't execute the system. That's really important. And we want to make this super clear. You want to cover this as much as humanly possible to the point where they go, we get it. I get it. Yes, I understand the new system. Thank you. Yes, I understand what happens if I don't do it. That's what you want. Because if you do that, you know that you've gotten the message across. Because when you hold people accountable, which we'll get into later, we're really focused on making sure we're eliminating all excuses that they can possibly give you and leaving them with only 2 excuses. Either I chose not to do it or I forgot. Both are going to be unacceptable. But instead of having excuses like no one told me, I didn't know we're still doing that, I didn't know we were doing it that way, I thought we were doing it differently now. We want to eliminate all excuses, make it super simple. I chose not to do it or I forgot. And then we can handle it accordingly from there. But high-level systems are so important. Now, after we have the implementation, then we have the management piece, which is what I just talked about, right? So now we're managing them, making sure they're doing it or not, right? If they're not doing it, we have to hold them accountable. But we have to have KPIs set up to make sure that we can see if they're doing it or not, because we can't be at every table every time. We can't be following them around the whole shift. We just have simple KPIs that we set up. There's a myriad of different ways we can do that. It really depends on your operations, but we're gonna focus on how we create those KPIs and then how we hold them accountable, which is so important. So that is create, implement, manage. Super important. Next, you have dynamic training. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? And again, a lot of restaurants miss the mark on here. Now, they do 2 things. One, it's just completely underdeveloped training. People try and get them on the floor as soon as possible. I'm gonna have you follow a couple of days, and then I'm gonna have you get on the floor, or I might have you follow someone one day, then you're gonna lead, and then you're on the floor, right? We're just gonna trust you, but hopefully after a couple of months, you get everything down. The problem with that is that A, it makes a really poor employee experience, because the number 1 reason someone leaves is bad leadership. The number 2 is poor training, because if people feel like they're underdeveloped or not trained well enough, then that creates a lot of friction in their job at the very beginning, right? And picture it, you get hired somewhere, they undertrain you. Now, the whole time you're gonna say this, right? You don't wanna look stupid. So you're gonna say, yeah, no, I get it. Oh yeah, I got it. No, I'm good. Oh, ready to be on the floor. I wanna make some money, right? But they're setting you up for failure because you don't know the menu. You don't know the computer that well. So when you go to tables, you feel dumb. You're trying to avoid questions. You're keeping the interactions really short because you get asked too many questions. And if you get asked a question you know the answer to, it's embarrassing, or you might even, heaven forbid, make something up. And then when you're going to the computer, now you don't know where stuff is at. People are looking at you funny. You're causing lines, right? You have to keep asking questions, or you're too embarrassed to ask questions, so sometimes you guess. It becomes a lot of friction. You start not enjoying the job, not feeling taken care of, and you're looking for the exit sign, but you definitely don't have buy-in. You're definitely not motivated, right? We want to make sure the training is dynamic. That means that we want to set it up for success, but we want to look at it this way, right? Let's say we train for 4 to 7 days, depending on how many days you want to train. All we're doing is getting them floor ready, and then after that, we're going to continuously train them for the next 90 days to get them up to rock stars. Now, there's different ways you can do this. We're not training them off the clock. We're making making sure they're on the job training, but we make sure everyone has time and development to do that, and we set that up. So that's dynamic training, and then we're focused on training them the right way. So instead of trying to train them the old way 5 years ago, right? Here's hospitality, here's what it is, here's what we want you to do, here's how you do it, right? Do these things, say these words. No, we're gonna rewire their mindset for them to connect their own dots on what hospitality is, and then align them on our branded hospitality. And then after that, we're gonna show them how to be self-motivated, because we cannot rely on us motivating them. A restaurant can't motivate their staff. Your best performing employees are self-motivated. Right now, the rock stars you have where you go, oh man, I love that person, they're so awesome, I can clone them, life would be so good. Why are they so successful? Why do they stay so diligent? Why do they do such a good job? Because they're self-motivated. They have all the same motivations as everyone else in the building, correct? You're giving them job security, they're making X amount of dollars, they have 5 shifts, 4 shifts a week, whatever it is, they're all motivated the same way. It's all the same level of motivation. Yet this group over here performs exponentially higher than this group. Why? Is it because this group's not capable? Absolutely not, because this group's motivated. Why are they motivated differently than these people? Because they're self-motivated. These people are looking for motivation. Give me money, right? A raise and I'll work better. Give me less work and I'll do better. Make my job easier and I'll do better. Be nicer to me and I'll do better, right? We want to teach them how to be self-motivated, and it's really easy. Again, we have a system for it. It's finding out what their why is, which is really important, then connecting their why with the company's why. You can do it. I don't care if they want to be in a rock band and they're a busser right now, we can connect the whys, and I'll show you how in that live free training. So next we're going to focus on is follow-up mastery. Now this is such a big piece, and this is, again, 99% of restaurants just miss this. Are your managers following up? Are your leaders following up? Are you following up? How do you follow up? Is it systematic, or do you just walk in and just see things and follow up that way, right? Oh, that's not done right. That's not done right. Why are you not doing it like that? Why are you doing it like that? We need to make it systematic. Follow-up is everything. If you think follow-up is just a quick check or walking in and looking, you're going to end up micromanaging and you're going to end up pulling your hair out. It's going to kill you, right? We want to systematize it. So A, it builds consistency and structure for the staff, and B, it builds consistency and structure for the leadership team and for yourself, right? All of a sudden, you have a culture that's kind of running on its own, right? Everything's running fine, and you have a culture of excellence. Everyone's executing at a high level, and this is what you want. So follow-up is absolutely key. What are we following up on? Well, when are we following up on it? And then how are we monitoring it? How are we managing it? Very simple, right? But you have to put the systems in place. The hardest part of running a restaurant is developing the systems and the training to be able to run on its own. Okay, when I say run on its own, I do not mean, oh, these are all built, so now you can go on vacation for a year and come back and collect a paycheck. Obviously, no, that's not true. But running on its own means that you're not doing the day-to-day all of a sudden. You're not pulling out your hair for the small things. You're not wondering why things aren't getting done. Things are getting done, and they're getting done without you getting involved all the time. They're getting done without you micromanaging all the time. And they're getting done without you being there all the time. You're still gonna have to manage your leadership team. You're still gonna have to monitor and follow up and hold accountable your leadership team, but all of a sudden, underneath them is running really, really smooth, right? And it goes upwards too, because once this runs smooth, then it runs smooth for the leadership team too. So now you have just this well-oiled machine. And all you're doing is checking in every then. And every now and then, something's gonna get a little bit out of line, you're just gonna put it right back in place, right? Versus just trying to hold things together the whole entire time. Two different ways of running a business. So the hardest part of running a business should not be running the business, it should be creating training and systems to help the business run on its own. And that's what this is all about. Last piece of the 5 phases is accountability. Now, accountability is something that's lacking in so many organizations. It blows my freaking mind. If someone does something wrong, someone does something outside of a system, if something does something to lower the standard, we need to hold them accountable. But we have to have A, the right leadership to be able to do it. B, we have to have the right training so we actually gave them the right information. And so that way we can say, you're doing this incorrectly even though we showed you another way. You're choosing not to do it, that's a problem. And then we have to have systems to be able to catch those things when they happen, right? That's how we do it. And then, of course, how do we find out? We follow up. So that's how the 5 phases all work together. Now we can hold them accountable confidently. And holding them accountable, when you build it into your culture the right way, which will show you how to do, is so simple. Right now, if you don't have it built in, you're holding people accountable basically when they do so many bad things that you get frustrated, or they start a fire basically, right? And you have to hold them accountable. They do something really, really bad. Now I have to hold you accountable. Now it's this dark thing. Come talk to me in the office. We're writing you up, blah, blah, blah. And it makes your leadership team think that accountability is this heavy thing, right? Or they're micromanaging. People do not like that. Neither the micromanager or the micromanagee do not like being micromanaged. Everyone loses, right? So instead, we have a culture of accountability where we hold people accountable to excellence. Very different, right? Simplistic in nature, but we make sure that we're both on the same page when it comes to accountability. We're both on the same page of understanding that this is just to make it better, right? This is just to make everything better. That's it. It's not a criticism, and everybody's being held accountable across the board. So now it seems like part of the workflow and part of the culture versus this negative thing of, well, you never hold them accountable. They get away with murder. This person comes in late every single day. You're gonna hold me accountable for being late? No way. No, you're not. Versus everyone's being held accountable. I know when someone comes in late, they get held accountable. I know for a fact if I come in late, I'm gonna be held accountable and I'm prepared for it. Walking in late, I already know. And bring it on. Totally deserve it. I'm not gonna be late again. So 2 different ways of running a business. Want ultimate success. If you want to chase excellence, you can join the 300 restaurants that we've helped scale worldwide to be able to do that. And all you gotta do is 5 phases. Simple, just not easy, but still simple.